Hi everyone, I'm really glad you're here. If you're trying to improve your English, especially your listening and reading skills, you're in the right place. In this series, we'll learn English together through something that's fun, interesting, and meaningful: history from around the world. Each video, I'll share a story from a different country, maybe a famous event, a legend, or something surprising from the past. I'll read it out loud slowly and clearly so you can listen and read at the same time. This will help you understand new words, hear how English sounds in real conversation, and build your confidence step by step. So, let's enjoy learning English through the amazing stories of our world, one video at a time. Are you ready? Let's begin. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a place where tall mountains rise like strong guards, where blue seas whisper stories from long ago, and where the land itself seems to remember everything. This is Albania, a small but beautiful country in southeastern Europe. You may not hear about Albania every day, but it is a country full of rich history, brave people, and a spirit that never gives up. In this story, we will take a journey together. We will travel through time, from the ancient days of kings and warriors, through hard times and hopeful days, all the way to the present. Albania has changed a lot, but one thing has always stayed the same: the heart of its people. Let's begin by understanding where Albania is. On a map, you will find Albania near Greece, Italy, Montenegro, and North Macedonia. It has mountains, rivers, lakes, and a beautiful coastline along the Adriatic and Ionian seas. Though it is small in size, it has a big soul. Long ago, thousands of years back, Albania was home to the Illyrians, strong and proud tribes who lived in the hills and valleys. They were brave and loved their freedom. Later, the land was taken over by the Romans, then the Byzantines, and then the Ottoman Turks. Many rulers came and went, but the Albanian people always held on to their identity, their language, their songs, their dances, and their dreams. For a long time, Albania was not free. It was ruled by others for hundreds of years. But deep inside, the Albanians never forgot who they were. They told stories to their children about their ancestors. They sang songs in their own language, even when it was forbidden. And when the time came, they fought hard to gain independence, and they did. In 1912, Albania finally became a free country. But freedom was only the beginning. The 20th century brought many changes and many struggles. There were wars, dictators, and years of being closed off from the world. People lived in fear. They could not travel, speak freely, or even worship as they wanted. But still, the Albanian people stayed strong. They waited, they hoped, and finally, things began to change. In the early 1990s, Albania opened its doors to the world again. It was not simple, it was not quick. But step by step, the country began to rebuild its schools, its economy, and its future. Today, Albania is growing. It is a member of NATO. It hopes to join the European Union, and more people around the world are starting to discover its beauty and its strength. Now, Albania is not just about its past. It is about young people starting new businesses. It is about teachers and doctors working hard to improve lives. It is about artists painting the mountains and writers telling stories that were once hidden. Albania is alive with hope. And so, in this book, we will walk together through Albanian's story, not just the facts, but the feelings. We will learn about its history, culture, struggles, and successes. You will meet its heroes, understand its traditions, and see how the past has shaped the present. This story is not just for Albanians. It is for everyone who wants to learn. It is for English learners like you, who want to read with your heart, not just your eyes. Every sentence is made to be easy to follow. Every word is chosen with care. You can read it aloud, listen to it with a friend, or simply enjoy it like a warm conversation. By the end of this journey, you will know more than just the name of a country. You will know its soul. You will feel the courage of its people. And maybe, just maybe, you will carry a piece of Albania with you in your mind, in your heart. So now, let us begin. Chapter 1: The Roots of a Nation, Albania in Ancient Times. Let us go back far, far back in time. Long before there were cities or borders, before roads and flags, there were people living on the land we now call Albania. These early people were hunters, farmers, and builders. They made homes from stone and wood. They cooked over fire and watched the stars at night. They were the first to love this land, and their story is the beginning of Albanians' story. The Illyrians, Albanians, ancient people. The first known people who lived in Albania were called the Illyrians. They were not just one group. They were many tribes who lived in the mountains, valleys, and along the coast. Some lived near rivers. Others lived in the forests. Each tribe had its own leaders, its own customs, and its own way of life. But all of them were connected through a shared culture. They spoke similar languages and believed in the same gods. The Illyrians were strong and proud. They were known as warriors, but also as people of the land. They grew food, raised animals, and made things with their hands. They worked with bronze and later with iron. They made tools, weapons, and jewelry. Even today, some of their beautiful designs can be found in Albanian museums. The Illyrians believed in many gods. They looked at the sky and saw stories in the stars. They believed that mountains had spirits and rivers had power. Their religion was closely tied to nature. When they buried their dead, they did so with care and respect, sometimes in large burial mounds, surrounded by items the person might need in the next life. The rise and fall of Illyrian kings. Over time, some Illyrian tribes became more powerful. They built towns with walls and roads. They traded with the Greeks and others across the sea. They became known across the region. One of the most famous Illyrian kings was King Gentius, who ruled in the 2nd century BCE. He tried to unite the Illyrian tribes and protect their lands from outsiders. But powerful forces were moving across the world, and one of them was the Roman Empire. The Romans were strong, organized, and wanted to control the lands around them. They saw Illyria as an important place, a bridge between the West and the East. After years of fighting, the Romans defeated King Gentius in 168 BCE. Illyria became part of the Roman world. Life under the Romans. When the Romans took over, life changed. The Illyrians were no longer free, but many of their customs remained. The Romans built cities, roads, and aqueducts. They brought new laws, new languages, and new ways of life. Some Illyrians joined the Roman army. Others became merchants or craftsmen. The region became known as part of the Roman province of Illyricum. Cities like Dyrrhachium, now Durs, Apollonia, and Butrint grew under Roman rule. These were busy cities, full of markets, temples, and theaters. People came from far away to live there. Latin became a common language. Christianity also began to spread through this region, especially in the later years of the Roman Empire. Despite these changes, the spirit of the Illyrians did not disappear. They mixed with Romans, Greeks, and others, but they held on to their traditions. Their blood, language, roots, and culture remained part of the people. This mix would later help shape what it means to be Albanian. The Byzantines and the long Middle Time. when the Roman Empire split into two parts. Albania became part of the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire. This period lasted for many centuries, over 1,000 years. It was a time of both light and shadow. The Byzantine rulers brought the Christian faith deeper into Albanian lands. Churches were built, and many people became followers of the Eastern Orthodox Church. The cities continued to grow, and trade remained important. But this was also a time of conflict. Other groups, Slavs, Bulgars, and Normans, tried to take the land. The people often had to defend their homes and way of life. Even though rulers changed, the people stayed. They kept speaking their language, even if it was only at home. They passed down songs, stories, and beliefs. Slowly, over many generations, a new identity began to form. Not just Illyrian, not just Roman or Byzantine, but something unique, Albanian. The first appearance of the Albanian name. The word Albania appears in records from the 11th century, during the Byzantine period. Historians believe the name may come from an ancient tribe called the Albanoi, who lived in central Albania. It's also possible that the name comes from the Latin word albus, meaning white, perhaps referring to the snowy mountains. In any case, this was the time when the word Albanian began to mean more than just geography. It began to describe the people, their language, their culture, and their shared past. This was the beginning of national identity, even if the people didn't yet have their own country. Traditions that lived on. Even during all these changes, many traditions stayed alive. Albanian people have always been close to their families, their land, and their customs. One of the oldest traditions is Besa, a promise or word of honor. When someone gives their Besa, it means they will keep their word no matter what. This deep respect for honesty and loyalty is still very important in Albanian culture today. Another ancient tradition is hospitality. Albanians have always welcomed guests with warmth and care. In old times, a stranger could knock on any door and be given food, water, and a place to rest. This was more than kindness. It was a duty, a way of life passed down from ancestors. Songs, dances, and folk stories also helped keep the spirit of the people alive. Some songs spoke of love, others of war. Many were about freedom, the dream that one day the people could rule themselves again. The shadow of the Ottomans. By the 14th century, a new power was rising in the East, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans came from what is now Turkey, and they began taking over lands across the Balkans. In 1385, they entered Albania. Over time, they took control of most of the country. This would begin one of the longest and most difficult periods in Albanian history. But that part of the story belongs to the next chapter. Chapter 2. Under the Crescent Moon, Albania during Ottoman rule. A new flag was rising in the east. It carried a crescent moon and a star, and it came with a powerful empire, the Ottoman Empire. This empire, based in what is now Turkey, began to spread across the Balkans in the 14th century. It was large, rich, and strong. For over 400 years, Albania lived under Ottoman rule. This time in history was long and difficult, but also full of stories. Stories of faith, resistance, identity, and hope. The Ottomans arrive. The Ottomans first entered Albania in 1385. At that time, Albania was not a single country. It was a land of many small kingdoms and local leaders, each with their own territories. They often fought each other and were not united. This made it easier for the Ottomans to move in and take control. Over time, more and more Albanian land fell under Ottoman power. The Ottomans brought their own way of life, their laws, their soldiers, their religion, Islam, and their taxes. People had to give a portion of their crops, money, or animals to the empire. In some areas, life changed a lot. In others, it stayed almost the same, especially in the mountains, where many Albanians continued to live in traditional ways. But not everyone accepted Ottoman rule easily. The rise of Skanderbeg. One of the most famous heroes in Albanian history was born during this time. His name was George Kastrioti, but the world knows him as Skanderbeg. Skanderbeg was born around 1405 into a noble Albanian family. As a young boy, he was taken by the Ottomans as part of the Devshirme system, where Christian boys were taken to be trained as soldiers for the empire. He was raised in the Ottoman military, converted to Islam, and became a skilled general. But deep inside, Skanderbeg never forgot his homeland. In 1443, during a battle in Central Europe, Skanderbeg left the Ottoman army. He returned to Albania, gathered local leaders, and declared rebellion. He retook his family's castle in Kruju and raised a flag with a black, double-headed eagle, the same symbol that would one day become Albanians' national flag. For 25 years, Skanderbeg fought against the mighty Ottoman Empire. He led a small, brave army that defeated much larger forces. He used the mountains to his advantage. He united many Albanian tribes and gave the people something they had never had before: the feeling of being one nation. Skanderbeg died in 1468, and soon after, the resistance weakened. The Ottomans finally took full control, but the memory of Skanderbeg lived on. To Albanians, he became a symbol of freedom, courage, and unity. Even today, His name is spoken with pride, and statues of him stand in many cities. Life under Ottoman rule. After Skanderbeg's death, Albania was once again under full Ottoman control. This time, the rule lasted for centuries. During this period, many changes happened in Albanian life. Some good, some painful. One of the biggest changes was religion. The Ottomans were Muslim, and over time, many Albanians converted to Islam. Some did it to avoid high taxes on non-Muslims. Others did it to gain jobs or power. Some truly believed in the new faith. But not all Albanians converted. Many remained Christian, either Orthodox in the south and east, or Catholic in the north. This mix of religions, Islam, Catholicism, and Orthodoxy, is one of the most unique things about Albania. Even today, Albania is known for religious harmony, where people of different faiths live together in peace. That spirit began to grow during Ottoman times, when neighbors had to learn to live side by side. Education, culture, and language. During the Ottoman period, education was mostly religious. Muslim children learned in madrasas, Islamic schools. Christian children in churches. The Ottoman Turkish language became the official language of government and law, and the Albanian language was not allowed in schools or official places. This was a sad time for the Albanian language. People still spoke it at home and in villages, but they were not allowed to write or print books in it. Still, the language survived, passed down from parents to children, whispered in songs and stories. In the cities, Ottoman architecture changed the look of Albania. Mosques with tall minarets, public baths, covered markets, and stone bridges became part of daily life. Some of these buildings still stand today and are admired for their beauty and history. The Mountain Code, Kanun and Besa. While Ottoman law ruled the cities, in the northern mountains, many people still followed the ancient Kanun, a set of traditional laws passed down through generations. The Kanun covered everything: family, marriage, property, honor, and more. One of its most important rules was Besa, the sacred promise. If someone gave their Besa, it meant they gave their word. Breaking it was worse than any crime. This tradition helped keep peace in areas where there were no police or courts. It also showed the deep value Albanians placed on trust and honor. But the Kanun also had a darker side. One of its customs was blood feuds, long conflicts between families that could last for generations. If one man was killed, his family might seek revenge. These feuds caused pain and fear, and some families stayed inside their homes for years to avoid being attacked. Resistance and awakening. By the 1800s, The Ottoman Empire was weakening. Many of the countries under its rule were fighting for freedom. Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria, and others. Albanians began to feel the same desire. They wanted to speak their language freely. They wanted schools, books, and newspapers in Albanian. They wanted to be seen not just as part of an empire, but as a people with their own identity. This feeling grew stronger and stronger. Writers, poets, and teachers started secret schools. They wrote the first Albanian alphabets. In 1878, Liga Prizren was formed, a group of Albanian leaders who came together to protect Albanian lands and culture. Though the Ottomans tried to stop them, the Albanian national awakening had begun. Toward independence. By the early 1900s, the world was changing fast. The Ottoman Empire was falling apart. European powers like Austria-Hungary and Italy had their eyes on Albanian lands. Wars were breaking out in the Balkans. In the middle of this chaos, Albanians saw their chance. In 1912, after centuries of being ruled by others, Albanian leaders declared independence in the city of Vlorë. The man who read the declaration was Ismail Kamali, a respected leader and diplomat. The new Albanian flag was raised, red with a black double-headed eagle, the same symbol Skanderbeg had used long ago. It was a proud and powerful moment. But Albanians' struggle was not over. A nation is born, but not yet free. After declaring independence, Albania faced many challenges. Neighboring countries wanted to take parts of its land. The borders were drawn by foreign powers, and many Albanians were left outside the new country. World War I brought more confusion and conflict. Still, Albania was finally recognized as a country, poor, small, and weak, but real. It had no king, no strong army, and few schools. But it had something more important: a people who believed in their future. This chapter closes the long and difficult Ottoman period in Albanian history. The people had suffered, resisted, and survived. They had kept their language, their culture, and their pride. Now they were ready to begin again as a free nation. Chapter 3: A Fragile Freedom. Albania in the 20th century. When Albania declared independence in 1912, there was great joy and hope. After centuries of being ruled by others, the Albanian people finally had their own country. But the road ahead was not easy. Albania was young, poor, and surrounded by stronger neighbors. Its people spoke different dialects, followed different religions, and lived in isolated areas. The new country needed leaders, schools, laws, roads, everything. This was the beginning of Albania's long journey through the 20th century, a time of deep struggle, strong leaders, and a fight to find its true self. The first years of independence. In 1912, Albanians leaders gathered in the city of Vlorë to declare independence from the Ottoman Empire. Ismail Kamali, a wise and respected politician, raised the flag and led the first government. And Albania had no army to protect itself, and it was soon caught in the middle of Balkan Wars and World War I. During these early years, different parts of Albania were taken over by foreign powers: Serbia, Greece, Italy, Austria-Hungary, and others. Each one claimed a piece of Albanian land. Albanian villages were attacked, and many people fled their homes. The dream of independence seemed to fade, but the spirit of the people remained strong. Even when borders changed and leaders disappeared, families continued to speak Albanian and teach their children about their culture. In 1920, the Albanian people came together again. In a meeting called the Congress of Lushnjë, they chose a new capital, Tirana, and formed a national government. Slowly, Albania began to take control of its own destiny. King Zog and a time of change. In 1925, a man named Ahmet Zogu became president. 3 years later, he declared himself King Zog. He was the first and only Albanian king in modern history. He tried to modernize the country. He built roads, opened schools, and introduced laws. Women were given more rights. A small army was formed. Albania started to look more like a European nation. But life was still hard. Most people lived in villages, working the land. There were not enough doctors, teachers, or books. The government was often corrupt, and King Zog ruled with a heavy hand. To protect his power, he made deals with foreign countries, especially Italy. World War II and the rise of communism. In 1939, everything changed again. The Italian dictator, Benito Mussolini, sent his army to Albania and invaded the country. King Zog fled into exile. Italy took control and made Albania part of its empire. The people were angry but afraid. Some cooperated, others resisted in secret. When World War II spread across Europe, Albania became a battlefield. After Italy fell, Nazi Germany occupied the land. But during this dark time, a new resistance movement began to grow, led by the Communist Party of Albania, under a young man named Enver Hoxha. Enver Hoxha was smart, educated, and strong-willed. He promised to fight the foreign invaders and build a new Albania, equal, modern, and independent. Many young people joined him. They fought in the mountains, organized villages, and dreamed of freedom. In 1944, after years of fighting, the communists took control. The Nazis were gone. The king was gone. Enver Hoxha and his party now ruled Albania. A new kind of rule, Enver Hoxha's Albania. At first, many people were hopeful. The communists promised land for farmers, jobs for workers, and education for all. They began building schools, hospitals, and factories. They gave women equal rights. Religion was pushed aside, and the state became the center of life. But soon, Hoxha's rule became very strict and very scary. He did not allow any other political parties. People who disagreed with the government were sent to prison camps, or worse. Speaking against the leader was dangerous. Neighbors were asked to spy on each other. Fear spread across the land. Also cut ties with other countries. First with Yugoslavia, then with the Soviet Union, and finally even with China. Albania became one of the most isolated countries in the world. There were no foreign newspapers, no outside music, no travel, in or out. It was as if the country had built walls around itself. Life in isolation. From the 1960s to the 1980s, Albania was locked in a strange world. The streets were quiet. The news was controlled. People stood in long lines for bread or sugar. Electricity often failed. Farmers worked with old tools. Children were taught to love the leader and fear the West. Religion was completely banned in 1967, and Albania became the first officially atheist country in the world. Yet, people survived. Families stayed close. Children went to school and learned. To read folk songs were still sung quietly. People found small ways to dream, to hope that one day things would change. The fall of the regime. Enver Hoxha ruled Albania for over 40 years. He died in 1985, but his system stayed in place. His close ally, Ramaz Alia, took over. But the world was changing fast. The Berlin Wall fell. Communism collapsed in Eastern Europe. People wanted freedom, and in Albania, the people were ready. In 1990, students in Tirana began to protest. They marched in the streets, shouting for democracy, for jobs, for travel, for a better life. The government tried to stop them, but the protests grew. In 1991, the first multi-party elections were held. The communist regime ended. For the first time in many years, Albania opened its doors to the world. A country in crisis. But freedom did not bring peace right away. The early 1990s were full of problems. The economy was broken. Many people lost their jobs. Others tried to leave the country by boat, by car, or even on foot. thousands of Albanians moved to Italy, Greece, and beyond in search of a better life. In 1997, disaster struck. A group of fake investment companies had taken people's money with promises of wealth. These were pyramid schemes, and they collapsed. People lost everything. Angry crowds filled the streets. The army lost control. The country nearly fell into civil war. The government asked for help from the world. Peacekeepers came. Slowly, order was restored. Steps toward the future. In the 2000s, Albania began to rebuild. New leaders promised change. The country began to join the global community. In 2009, Albania joined NATO. It applied to become a member of the European Union. Roads were built, cities grew, and young people began to dream again. Tourists began to discover Albania's beauty, its mountains, beaches, and kind people. Artists, writers, and musicians began to create freely again. Schools and universities improved. The economy started to grow. But challenges remain. Many Albanians still leave to find work abroad. Corruption is still a problem. Some people feel forgotten, especially in rural areas. Yet, more and more Albanians are working for change in their communities, in government, and in business. From the fall of empires to the fall of walls, the 20th century was full of pain and pride, fear and strength. Albania's people never had it easy, but they survived with their language, their culture, and their courage intact. Chapter 4. A New Dawn. Albania Today and Tomorrow. The sun rises over Albania's mountains, hills, and coasts. Birds sing in the trees. Children walk to school. Farmers go to their fields. In the cities, cars move through busy streets, and shops open one by one. This is Albania today, a country still young, still learning, still healing. But this time, it walks forward not in chains, but in freedom. After a long and painful past, Albania now stands with a hopeful heart. Its people have known war, fear, poverty, and silence. But now they speak freely, they dream loudly, and they are building a future together. One brick, one voice, one dream at a time. A people on the move. One of the first things you will notice in modern Albania is its energy. Though the country is small, its people are full of ambition and movement. Many Albanians have gone abroad to study or work in Italy, Greece, Germany, the UK, the United States, and beyond. Others have returned home with new skills, ideas, and hopes. These returning Albanians bring change. They open new restaurants. They start online businesses. They believe that Albania can be more than its past, that it can grow into something great. At the same time, many people in rural areas still live simply. Some villages are quiet, with only older people left. Young people often move to Tirana, the capital, or to other cities like Shkodër, Durrës, Vlorë, or Cork. The countryside is changing, but the spirit of Albanian life, family, faith, and tradition still lives strong. The beauty of the land. Albania is a country of great natural beauty. The Albanian Alps in the north are tall and wild, with snow in winter and flowers in spring. The Ionian and Adriatic seas bring warm breezes and shining beaches. Rivers like the Drin and Vjosa run through green valleys. Forests grow thick and birds fly freely. For many years, the world did not know about Albanians' landscapes, but now more and more visitors come each year. They hike in the mountains. They swim in crystal clear water. They taste local food, Bajrak Tavi, fresh fish, and mountain honey. They drink Albanian coffee and raki. They meet people who smile easily and open their doors to strangers. Tourism is helping the economy. Small guest houses open in mountain villages. Young people become tour guides. Artists paint what they see. Musicians play at festivals. Albania is no longer hidden. It is alive and open. A new kind of education. In the past, education in Albania was strict and political. Students learned what they were told. There was only one story, the party's story. But today, things are different. Children go to school and learn math, science, history, and foreign languages. Many schools now use technology. In the cities, students have access to computers, books, and even international programs. Albanian universities are growing stronger, and some students study abroad with scholarships. Still, there are challenges. In some areas, schools lack resources. Teachers are overworked and underpaid. Some children must travel far to reach a classroom. But year by year, step by step, education is improving, thanks to both government efforts and the hard work of communities. Most importantly, young Albanians are now asking big questions. They want to know who they are. They want to understand their past, the real past, and to shape their own future. They are curious, creative, and ready. A democracy in progress. Albania is now a democratic republic where people vote for their leaders and speak freely. There are newspapers, websites, television channels, and social media where people share opinions, ideas, and art. Political parties compete in elections. Activists fight for causes like women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, clean energy, and free speech. But democracy is not always easy. Albania still struggles with corruption, unfair systems, dishonest officials, and weak rule of law. Sometimes, power is used for personal gain instead of the public good. Protests happen often. People demand more jobs, better healthcare, fair treatment. Even so, progress continues. Albania has made important reforms in justice, voting, and anti-corruption. In 2014, it became an official candidate for membership in the European Union. The journey is long, but many believe Albanians' place is in the European family. The power of women. In traditional Albanian society, men held most power, but today, women are rising. They are mayors, ministers, teachers, doctors, judges, and business owners. Albania's government now includes many women in leadership. This is more than a trend, it is a quiet revolution. Young girls grow up seeing women on television, in politics, and at the head of companies. They know that their voices matter. Still, many women in rural areas face challenges: early marriage, low pay, and little support. Domestic violence remains a serious issue. But through education, media, and activism, change is coming. Women's voices are growing louder, and the country is listening. Culture alive. Albanian culture is ancient, but it is not frozen. It is alive, evolving with every generation. In music, folk songs still echo from the mountains, while pop artists and rappers fill concert halls and clubs. In art, painters mix tradition and modern style. Writers tell stories, once hidden stories, of life during dictatorship, of migration, of love and loss. Filmmakers win awards at European festivals. Albanian culture is proud, poetic, and full of emotion. It celebrates both joy and sorrow, both honor and hope. From the slow rhythms of the lahuta, a traditional instrument, to the fast beats of new dance tracks. Albania and the world. Today, Albania is more connected to the world than ever. It is part of NATO, works with the United Nations, and plays a role in peacekeeping. It sends athletes to the Olympic Games and students to foreign universities. Albanian actors, singers, and writers are known worldwide, from Dua Lipa and Rita Ora to Ismail Kader. The Albanian diaspora, people living outside Albania, continues to help the country grow. They send money home, invest in businesses, and return with knowledge and skills. And Albania itself is learning from the world. It watches, adapts, and grows, while keeping its heart close to its traditions. The road ahead. So, what does the future hold? No one knows for sure, but many Albanians are filled with hope. They want a better life, not just for themselves, but for their children. They want clean air, honest leaders, good jobs, and safe streets. They want strong schools, healthy families, and open minds. Many young people are choosing to stay, to build, to lead, to plant roots. They say, Albania is not perfect, but it is mine. That love, deep, stubborn, and loyal, is what keeps the country moving forward. A new dawn. The sun continues to rise. Albania wakes each morning with old wounds, yes, but also with new strength. Its people carry centuries of struggle in their hearts. But they also carry songs, smiles, and stories. They have suffered, but they have never given up. From the mountains of Trapoju to the beaches of Sarandu, from the villages of Gjirokastër to the cafes of Tirana, Albania stands tall, a land of beauty, courage, and possibility. The road ahead is long, but Albania is walking it, and now the world is watching and walking beside it. The soul of Albania, a story that lives on. Every story must come to an end, but some stories never really stop. They live on in memories, in hearts, in quiet voices that whisper across time. The story of Albania is one of those stories. We began this journey long ago, with ancient people living among the hills and rivers, the proud Illyrians, the first keepers of this land. We followed their footsteps through Roman roads, Byzantine walls, and Ottoman rule. We met the brave Skanderbeg, who raised the eagle banner and gave his people a reason to stand tall. We felt the silence of fear under dictatorship, and we listened to the shouts of freedom from the voices of students, mothers, farmers, and children who simply wanted more truth, more choices, more light. We watched Albania grow, fall, rise again, and now walk forward, slowly, carefully, but with strength in its steps. Your voice matters. If you are learning English, reading this book may have been a challenge. Maybe you paused at hard words. Maybe you read slowly. But look, you made it. You read a whole story. You followed a nation through time. That is something to be proud of. Never stop reading. Never stop asking questions. And never stop listening to the world, to your heart, and to voices like Albanians. Small but strong, quiet but powerful. Because every voice matters, even yours. Even now, as the sun sets on this final page, the story goes on. And somewhere, in the hills of Albania, the wind still carries songs that were never meant to be silenced.